Just let me just double check if it's working on YouTube.
Is that the camera?
So we have
That's the YouTube one.
yes.
And microphone.
Sit up.
Pick up everyone.
It's very fancy.
Gotta be really
Yeah,
careful
I see.
inside.
If you want to give it to you, check it's very fancy.
Oops, we've become accustomed to sign language.
Okay, cool. See. All right, can people in the Zoom hear me? Okay, easy, fantastic. Let me just get maximum. I will declare the board meeting open at 5:36 p.m. Acknowledgement of traditional owners. We would like to acknowledge the land we meet on today is the traditional land for the Ghana people and we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Ghana people as the traditional custodians of the Adelaide region and their cultural and heritage beliefs still is important to living Ghana people today. Declaration of conflict of interest. They're all directors and officers in attendance declare they have read and considered all papers within this agenda that required decision making and have no known conflict of potential conflict of interest with respect to these matters. Any board directors have any conflict to this to declare? There being none, I move on to item number 3, casual vacancy. As per required by the policy, this is the first item that the board required to address in the board. And as you would have known, Billy Zimmerman has resigned from his role. Thank you, Felix, for pointing out a couple of errors in the meeting. So the agenda paper have fixed that, certainly not the title, but the motion's fixed. Anyone have any issues with that?
When you say issues, is this
About
like a formal
the
debate?
recommend? Yes, well, I mean, we can move in debate or something like that, but that's the recommendation I put forward for the casual vacancy.
Well, I'd like to speak against it, but I'm happy to let other people speak in favour first, or do you usually outline any reasoning you'd like to outline first?
I think the board can operate very efficiently with 9 board directors, as it has previously been. At one point, the board has 8 board directors as well, so I think the board can operate perfectly with 9 board directors.
Well, I'll keep it brief. Basically, the board has a mechanism to fill vacancies for a reason, and it's to ideally be at 10. It may be at 8 due to the fact that literally you may not have had that many candidates in the election, and you may only have, say, 1 or 2 candidates who are left on the onto the ballot after everyone else has been elected, or you might have gone through a lot of people who've been filled vacancies, and this sort of exists to stop. And sort of the recommendation not to fill vacancies exists to stop people who have sort of defects in their candidacy to sort of be appointed. I don't see why we shouldn't be at 10 directors. It's not like we have a lunatic who's up next, as far as I'm aware. And I think that we should have 10 directors.
Any more comments on that? There being none, the recommendation reads that the board resolves to not fill the casual vacancy left by Billy Zimmerman. Can I have a mover for the recommendation? Luke, can I have a seconder for the recommendation? Seconded by Esther, though dissent. Those in favor for that recommendation? Those against? Those abstaining? Motion carried. On start agenda items, it's something that I am.
Does anybody want to listen?
No, you don't have to, unless it's only after the motion passed.
You want
On start agenda items, so I'm introducing this so that it makes the meeting process a bit more efficient. Some of the things do not require further discussion, can just be approved as it is, unless anyone wants to start any item in the agenda.
I actually just have a question. What exactly, I actually asked Gary this at the start. I don't quite understand the unstarred items and stuff. Can you explain that a bit?
So if you look at this, in this agenda, I have chose to unstart item number 5. So it comes after item number 3. So item number 3 is addressed. So that's considered addressed. Unstart agenda items onwards, so number 4 onwards, you have number 5, which is unstart. You don't see a star beside it.
Yep.
Appointment of board secretary, you don't see a star beside it. You don't see a star beside the SRC president's report. We considered it as addressed. It's something that is easy. Board directors have looked over it, no issues with it. It's non-contentious, that we can just approve it. So which means that if item number 4, if board directors choose not to start any item, item number 5 and item number 6 will not be revisited. We go to item number 7 straight away.
So we don't talk about those 2 items in the meeting.
Yeah, well, 3 items in this case.
So hang on, just to clarify, does this mean that we don't vote on those items, or do we just
So,
discuss?
so you approve item number 5, 6, and 10 on block without discussing it. You can start items if you wish to.
Right, I was going to bring this up at the next item because I'm actually not quite sure. This has only happened once, but I was at the previous meeting, but I wasn't.
So
in my
you can,
capacity as
if you
board director.
get an
Should I-
issue with the minutes, then
Yeah.
you have to start the minutes. So we're talking about item number 4 right now.
Okay, can we start item number 5 then?
Yes, you can start item number 5. Yes, Chris.
So do we start an item in the meeting?
Yes,
before,
well, I've
but we
already
can-
started. Can you see the small little
Yeah,
star? on
but
the
like
side
if
before?
I want to start something,
Yes,
do I
you
send
can.
you an email when
No,
I get
well,
the minutes, or
You can do that before the meeting or during the meeting.
Okay.
That's fine.
Thank you.
So item number 5 is start. Any other items that board directors wish to note? There being none, the recommendation read that all unstart items are approved. Can I have a mover for that resolution? Moved by Felix. Can I have a seconder for that resolution? Seconded by Luke. Is there any dissent? There being no dissent, item number 5 and 6, 6 and number 10 is passed. Congratulations, Angela. It's, to be appointed to be a new board secretary. Item number 5, yes, Felix.
All I wanted to say was I wasn't entirely sure whether I should vote on this because I was present at the meeting, and that does bear out what I recall at the meeting, but I was not a board director at that time, so I'm not sure whether you prefer me to abstain or not. So I'm just sort of
So
yeah, then.
we only, so if you are not in the meeting, ideally you should abstain because you can't verify the meeting regardless you're an observer or not. But now you're a board director, you have a voting right, then you could pass the minutes as voting.
Okay.
Does that sort of make sense?
Okay.
So if you're not in the meeting, ideally you should abstain from voting. Is there any issues with the minutes? There being none, the recommendation reads that the board accept the minutes of the meeting of the 30th of November 2021 as a true and accurate record. As a note, probably for the best for board directors who weren't present in the meeting to abstain from voting in this case, just for procedurally. In that case, I will call for a vote as well in the end, rather than calling for dissent. Can I have a move for that resolution to accept the minutes? So the mover will have to be someone who present. So Grace, can I have a seconder to approve the minutes?
Wait,
I'm
hang on.
looking
I wasn't
for-
at the
Why-
meeting.
None of us
So-
were.
Then you shouldn't move.
Oh, okay, no,
I
yeah.
really recommend, so you should be abstaining.
Okay,
from voting.
yeah.
I read the recommendation again that the board accepts the minutes of the meeting of the 30th of November 2021 as a true and accurate report. Can I have a mover for the resolution? It has to be someone in the meeting. Moved by Esther. Can I have a seconder for the resolution? Looking for people in the meeting. Seconded by Felix. Those in favor? Those against? Those abstaining? So you have to raise your hand while you abstain. So you guys will need to raise your hand for abstaining. The motion carried. Thank you.
These guys don't need to abstain because they weren't at the meeting. Nothing to do with the meeting, so
Yeah,
for them to abstain would be silly.
I thought, because
so
I
we're
thought
just
that.
not included in that vote?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
it's okay, so,
No,
it's
that's
carried.
fine.
All right,
I don't count.
we'll move through.
We count for now.
Oh,
We'll move through quickly to item number 7. This is my report. So looking at Isaac, it's pretty straightforward. Hopefully you have taken a read on that. On this,
No more 10 minutes.
I know no more 10 minutes, no more 10 pages. So just to note, I have.
Can we unstar items as well? No.
It's funny how this one starts.
Look, I just something to note for in terms of what I expect from board directors from this term. We know that past years hasn't been ideal. We have a couple of issues with directors. So I have really high expectations for this board in terms of its conduct and in terms of professionalism as well. So hopefully we'll have a very productive year moving forward. That's just my message to the board. Any issues and you can always reach out to myself or Gary. Gary always have an open door policy as well.
Very open.
Really, Gary is one of our really quite well versed in terms of because Gary has been in the board for a lot of years. So
Not as many as Michael. But
feel free to knock on Gary's door.
Only
If
two
you
have
have
on
an
Gary's
issue or even on my door. And as I mentioned as well, prefer if you have any issues about meetings and stuff, come to myself and agenda and stuff like that as well. Just to note as well, and Luke probably have a bit more to say in his report, in terms of clubs committee, we actually have exhausted all our clubs grant money. I think more than 80 grand, and even after the AU board have approved the additional 20 grand, I think wasn't Gary?
yeah, I think so.
So I think it's a fantastic outcome. I think it's lovely to see our clubs being that active. And hopefully we'll be able to sort of continue the trend. It's rarely that we see clubs grants being used up, but I think it's great sort of to show that our clubs are sort of coming back from COVID. So I think it's a very great sign, and the AU board should be very glad about it.
The other 20, we were able to throw 20 grand at student care for critical needs vouchers as well, like Coles Mine cards that obviously went through a process, so that they're all being swallowed up as well.
Yeah. So I think again it's a very great sign that the AU's work is being actively taken up by students, and those students who need help are actively being supported by us. So I think again something that you should be very glad about, and you can probably tell your friends around the Christmas time. Moving on, clubs committee chair report. Luke, your first speech in the board.
Yeah, well, obviously, we've scheduled the last of the 8 clubs committee meetings for tomorrow, so we'll move into that. And there's just a bit of a motion to offer an option for clubs to freeze themselves, ones that haven't been able to fulfill the requirements to continue as a registered club. And the benefits behind freezing is that they don't initially lose their registration because it's obviously a bit of a process to re-register. So we're providing a lot of those clubs with a bit of leeway to potentially get their act together and carry on if they re-inspire students. And if not, well then we'll move on with deregistering them. But in general, yep, clubs have, I hope, never been better, but obviously still quite new to the role. Don't really have much more to say than that at this present moment.
Any questions for Luke? Yes.
How long can they freeze a club for?
I think that's, I'm sorry,
no,
it's still being determined.
It's I think the clubs committee will review its status every single meeting
Okay.
as to it's in progress or not, and then the clubs committee can elect to move a motion to just deregister a club because numerous club communications hasn't been replied. Happens with some clubs which has been inactive for a long time.
Thank you.
Any questions, concerns? That being done, move forward with student media chair's report. Oliver, is there anything else you want to know to the board? Oliver, can you hear us?
Actually, nothing that has occurred as yet. I'll be attending to meet with everyone at the start of 2022.
Yeah. Any suggestions and stuff might be easier for you guys to just directly forward it to the student media chair. Moving on, as you know that Billy was an executive member, now we need to fill a casual vacancy, the executive member. I will amend the recommendation that the board appoints Gary Sutherland as the returning officer. Can I have a mover for that resolution? Moved by Philip. Can I have a seconder for that resolution? Rebecca is in dissent. That's been done. I will hand over the chair to you, Gary.
Thank you very much, Oscar. It's a highlight of my day. Sorry, I'll just get my ballot paper up. Right, thank you. So we're electing one position to the AUU executive. The candidate who is unlike the AUU president who gets to give a bit of a speech about how they should be elected. You guys don't if you're nominated, it's just a straight vote process. I think the past president gets a vote as well, from memory. Not on this one, no, not on this one.
Not in this one.
So we'll have, I don't know how we're going to do Alders. He'll have to text me or something. So do we have any nominations for the one vacancy for the AUU executive?
I nominate Felix.
No, accept the nomination. No.
I nominate Esther.
I'll accept the nomination.
Can I just ask who's currently on the executive for the other two?
Luke and Emily and Isaac.
Right.
Just the VP.
Is that still progress? Sorry.
Again, we're all board directors. We are not non-partisan.
Okay, sure.
Are there any other nominations? No, that means it's going to be fairly straightforward.
Jerry, for the online ones, do you want to just join Zoom so that they can text you privately?
Sorry.
Do you want to join Zoom so they can text you their vote privately? That might be good. Just like with their name and stuff. Or
Oh, we're not doing this on the website.
no, paper, because it's only one position.
I can get, Alders the only one who needs to, and Isaac.
Yeah.
Oh, is this online again?
No, so this one is paper because
Thank goodness.
rather than
Oh, is there a problem?
Oh, it was just such a challenge to navigate.
I've got them both on mobile,
so or it might be easier for me to just get them to text them to your mobile. Is that okay, Gary?
Oh, you can if you want to, I was just about to text them then, but you can do that if you like.
Yeah, I'm
Otherwise,
just
you guys
sending your
just
number.
need to print a ballot paper. I didn't bring the standard coloured pens. Have you got a pen?
The blue pen.
Better all be blue.
I have to provide you all with identical pens.
Yes.
Ah.
And they
So
have to
hang
be
on,
blue.
I'll go.
It has to be blue.
Yeah, no, I've got
Got
some.
that specific pen
It's a
bucket
very
somewhere.
So that was,
It's a very exciting feature of our process.
I'm sure that was, it's one of the liberals.
Possibly, I think
Okay.
that's.
Was it Reese?
No, they have to be the identical pair.
Don't worry.
There's literally an entire
I shall
policy.
go and retrieve.
Um,
The specific pen
It's called the
bucket.
board
It's
integrity
very
policy.
exciting.
It is.
And if
We-
I-
I think we're gonna move to scrap that eventually because we now use all use online anyway. So
What? I scrapped it,
Remember who did it?
because then we can't
Ranjit,
vote with
because,
paper.
previously, you can actually identify whoever. Like so, say
Fair enough.
there's always been arguments between the left bloc. So they try to outvote each other sometimes, and like sometimes they can, they try to use some weird method to get someone on the side, and they can identify. They ask their reps to sign a vote a certain way, so they can identify the vote when scrutineer look at the votes. So that's why Ranjit introduced that.
I remember I was here.
So how long have you been sitting on AUU board meetings for? Like?
About 18 years.
Quite decent.
Yeah.
Don't get enough of them yet.
No, everyone's always surprised when they hear I'm still here.
The longest lasting member.
At least it's not 19 now, that was more chaotic.
Wow. So who enforced the reduction in numbers?
The board voted it in. It used to just go around and get the same people from the same faction all saying the same things. Yeah. Now it
No,
don't
it's
have to vote for, no, you don't have to vote for Felix now, because see colour, you have the same colour pens.
Exactly. We'll never know, will
You
we?
never know, no, that's right.
Anyone Have any views on the mince pies?
Yet to
They're not
partake.
parliamentary
Yet to
pies,
partake.
but
No, no, not.
Oh, good.
not.
Here, have more.
they're not bad. They're not bad at all.
So how is it that you've never had a mince pie?
Well, not
Because I
often.
do not celebrate Christmas.
Do you
Yeah,
not?
celebrate Christmas evenings pies. They're just really nice.
Because I'm a Buddhist, I'm not a Christian.
I
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Celebrate Christmas.
Interesting.
That's valid.
yeah, but I've been to Christmas parties before, but they never had mince pie. I think it's the first time.
I mean, you don't have to celebrate Christmas, however. Wait.
I'm
you
so glad I
already
just said that, but anyway.
Oh,
Those
it's
all
short,
year round
short and
fruits.
sweet.
It's going to have to be black, sorry, someone stole all blue
Oh,
ones.
Gary, the policy says.
Oh, I know, you're going to have to pass a quick
Uh-oh,
It's okay.
resolution.
It's okay. We'll just
But they
celebrate
are
together.
identical, I can assure you of that.
I love
Which
you.
makes it good, so-
I love this ballot paper. It's really fancy.
It is. Wait till I call for people's scrutineers to come with me while I count them.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really?
Does everyone have one? Everyone who should have one, have one.
Am I able to start now?
Yes, go for your life. I hope they're getting this on YouTube. Fold your ballot papers.
Democracy.
So how about Isaac and
They will text Gary
They're
straight
gonna
away.
text me. Thank you. Thank you.
Quick and voting.
Thank you.
Steve, you want to be a scrutineer?
scrutiny? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, why
Oh, I
not?
don't know.
That's like
Yeah,
fun.
we'll have to go and count in secret.
Alright.
Yeah, it's mad.
Sure.
Oh, so scared.
Sorry about the delay.
Right, who's scrutineering?
Me.
Let's go.
You should nominate someone.
Oh, I can.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Make sure you ensure the integrity of the vote.
Make sure the maths is done correctly. I'll be able to. I don't do write any of these stuff, like, because I'm not.
What are your chances, Felix?
Oh.
There's a 30% chance. Well, there's 3 out of 9. What is that? 1 out of 33% chance.
They could all, they're all using the same pen, so.
Yeah.
Oh dear. You might be getting some love from the other side.
Why do you think I brought the mince pie?
Well, not a bribe. So you're not on student engagement committee anymore either, are you?
I think student engagement committee has a bit of an overlap until December because it's not linked with the student rep terms. It's linked with the calendar year, I think. So I'm invited to tomorrow's meeting, but I don't think I'm invited to any other meetings after that.
No. I invited the new rep to tomorrow's anyway.
No.
It doesn't matter how many you get.
Oh,
That's
How is it?
Luke has a face of disappointment.
As your returning officer for the executive election, I can report that the winner of the election is Esther.
Thank
The vote was 6 votes to 3. And I'll hand the chair back to Oscar.
Thank you, Gary.
Pleasure.
The recommendation is that the board accepts the returning officer's verbal report, noting the limited supply of blue pen. The board will have to use the black pen.
Slowly.
I should have commented that the positive votes included ones, ticks, and crosses. So I had the whole variety there.
Oh. Can I have a mover for the resolution? Move to accept.